belatedly following on from the 2013 take on Sam Raimi's brilliant Evil Dead movie, could they successfully reboot it a second time? And once again, without its iconic leading man Ash Williams? The answer's an emphatic yes. I'm Stephen Archibald, and welcome to my movie podcast. Hello again, appreciated listener, and welcome to my podcast, They Came From Within, Cult Movie Reviews. Mummy Dearest, Evil Dead Rise, 2023. A surprising number of much-loved horror franchises were born in the 1980s, in the years of my youth. Halloween, Friday the 13th. A Nightmare on Elm Street, Hellraiser, and The Evil Dead. Directed by the Irishman Lee Cronin, Evil Dead Rise pulls off that difficult trick of succeeding as both a continuation of a series and as a standalone horror movie. It's not essential for you to be familiar with its predecessors, but I'd strongly recommend them to anyone who's yet to see them. The film opens with a deceptively tranquil scene in which we see the cousins Teresa and Jessica holidaying at an attractive lake cabin with Jessica's boyfriend, Caleb. As you'd expect from the movie's title, their young lives are soon shattered by a malevolent entity. The story then takes a slight leap back in time. Finding herself pregnant and without direction, the guitar technician Beth winds up calling on her older sister Ellie. It soon becomes pretty clear that their relationship is a dysfunctional one. Ellie's a tattoo artist and a single mum to the teenagers Bridget and Danny, and to a child called Cassie. Ellie and her kids live in a soon-to-be demolished tower block in Los Angeles, and it's in the bowels of this location that Danny discovers an eerie-looking book, one that those of us familiar with the Evil Dead movies know to be the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, the Book of the Dead. Reading aloud this book's dark contents whilst playing the incantations from the phonographic records found alongside it unleashes the forces of hell. And, as already revealed by the movie's striking poster, poor Ellie is brutally transformed into a deadite. Beth and the kids are then left with the frightening and heartbreaking task of trying to destroy Ellie's possessed form before it kills them or anyone else who crosses its path. And this is precisely what makes Evil Dead Rise so horribly fascinating. How a family must fight together to annihilate a creature which had once been a much-loved member of that family. A strong, doting mother whose life had meaning and purpose. This film is the fifth instalment in the franchise. The Evil Dead came out in 1981. Evil Dead 2 was released in 1987. And Army of Darkness surfaced in 1992. The Fede Alvarez reboot, which was simply titled Evil Dead, was released in 2013. We also have the Fabulous Stars TV series, Ash vs Evil Dead, which ran for 3 seasons between 2015 and 2018. Beth, who's essentially the Ash of this picture, is played by the fine Australian actress Lily Sullivan. Lily's appeared in the television adaptations of Romper Stomper and Picnic at Hanging Rock, which were both made in 2018. She has also starred in the Aussie sci-fi film Monolith, which was released last year. Her co-star, Elisa Sutherland, who portrays Beth's sister Ellie, is also an Australian actress. She is best known to US and UK viewers for starring in the mega popular Vikings, made by the History Channel. Elisa also starred in the 2017 adaptation of Stephen King's The Mist. It goes without saying that both women give sterling performances here. As I mentioned at the start of the podcast, Evil Dead Rise does not feature the legendary Bruce Campbell as Ash. He did provide some input on this picture, apart from serving as an executive producer along with Sam Raimi. Bruce supplied us with a vocal cameo. On the first 1920s phonograph record that is played, it's Campbell who exclaims, "Destroy it! It's called the Book of the Dead for a reason." Brucey also did some sound effects work. When Ellie's deadite is biting on a man's eyeball, it was Campbell himself who provided the freaky sounds, simply by chomping on an apple. The movie's director, Lee Cronin, hails from the great city of Dublin. Cronin also took on the task of writing the screenplay. Lee first came to the attention of horror fans via a short film he made in 2013 called Ghost Train, which got to feature on the anthology movie Minutes Past Midnight from 2016. He then made the acclaimed Irish supernatural film The Hole in the Ground, which was released in 2019. It was this film which caught the interest of Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell and longtime Evil Dead producer Robert Tappert. There are a lot of clever, hidden references to the other Evil Dead movies in this one. For example, Ellie carries tattoos of vines on each of her arms. A key character in the first, second and fourth movie was violently attacked by vines. Another example being that when a group of deadites go on the chase, they chant in unison, "Dead by Dawn," which also happens to be the subtitle of Evil Dead 2. There's also an homage to Kubrick's The Shining, when we get to see a lift fill up with blood. In fact, over 6.5 litres of fake blood was used on this film, which may or may not be your idea of heaven. Made on a budget of around $19 million, the movie made a rather healthy $146.3 million at the box office. And to think, Evil Dead Rise was originally meant to be released via the streaming service HBO Max. Test screening audiences had reacted so favourably to it that Warner Brothers made the decision to release it in cinemas. The original Evil Dead went on general release in 1983, 2 years after it had been made. It was distributed by New Line Cinema, so it's rather fitting that 40 years later they were among the production companies on this film. Dave Garbutt's cinematography, Brian Shaw's editing, and Stephen McKeon's music score are all top notch. I should add that, apart from the two great female leads, the actors who portray Ellie's children are also terrific. Gabrielle Eccles plays Bridget, Morgan Davies plays Danny, and Nell Fisher, in her film debut, plays young Cassie. Evil Dead Rise was filmed in New Zealand between the 6th of June and the 27th of October 2021. After being shown at South by Southwest on the 15th of March this year, the movie went on general release on the 21st of April. The movie's poster carries the haunting tagline, "Mummy loves you to death." And I have to warn you, after seeing this film, you may well develop an aversion to wine glasses and cheese graters. I'm Stephen Archibald, and thank you very much for listening to my podcast, They Came From Within Cult Movie Reviews. Please feel free to follow me, and you can catch all of my episodes on most podcast sites. Look after yourself, and goodbye for now.